So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show number 33. Hey everybody, Ed Matthews here at the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited about today's guest. Lou Brown is one of the people that I have relied on for, it's been a long time. And we're both getting older, so I'm not even going to say how many years, but it's been a lot of years. And it's exciting to reconnect. I think the last time we gazed at each other, it was pre-COVID. So Lou, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today.
Ed, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. It has been too long.
Amen.
I always loved CT REIA. Been up there many times, had great successes up there, and we have great success stories out of there as well. So always love working with CT REIA and you.
So, I'm a book hound, right? And so I've read, Doing Good While Doing Well. I've read Never Pay Rent Again. I'm going to have to admit, though, I have yet to read your new book, Buy, Hold, Sell. So that is on my list in the next 2 weeks to read. You have my commitment.
There's a business, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, Lou, for the folks out there that know you and love you, let's reinforce who you are. And then for the folks that are just getting to meet you, why don't we clue them in on who you are and what you do?
Awesome, Ed. Well, I've been buying, holding, and selling real estate now for over 40 years, if you can imagine that. And I was very blessed that someone, I would call her my original mentor. She didn't know she was a mentor, but I'm claiming that. And she said to me, "You need to buy a house." And I was 18 years old. I said, "Aunt Mabel, I can't buy a house. You go to banks and qualify for loans. How in the world am I going to be able to do that?" She says, "I don't know, but you need to meet my friend, Realtor Sue." Well, sure enough, Realtor Sue comes and picks me up, and we start driving around and looking at houses like I'm going to buy a house or something. And she knew something that Aunt Mabel didn't know, and that was a thing back in the day called NENQ loans, non-escalating, non-qualifying financing, where you could literally, for $45, step in and take over someone else's loan. I loved it. It worked for me. I bought my first, second, and third house that way, and I just really loved that whole process. And, of course, people might be Googling that right now. Don't worry about it. It's not available now.
Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah, those were the great times. And I figured out a workaround on that. So that has allowed me to continue to buy properties that way ever since then. And fast forward to today, I've never been to a bank. I've never qualified for a loan on a single family or small multifamily property. So I bought my first house when I was 18 years old and been buying ever since then.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I know you've traveled millions of miles telling people these stories, and the last count, I think, was well over 350,000 students that you've taught these exact same strategies and tactics. So what are you up to today? What have you been doing?
Man, I still love them little greenhouses. If you think about the Monopoly game, right? The little greenhouses, the best ROI, the best safety, the best just return on energy. I call it ROE. It is just the best thing ever. And one of the things we've done is we've created a twist to that, and simply rather than being landlords, we are certified affordable housing providers, and we offer our folks that move in with us, we call them members, we offer them the opportunity to someday own a home. It might be the home they move into. It might be a different home, but we offer them the opportunity to build up their credit, build up their down payment, build up bonus credits that we provide to them, and they can end up with home ownership. So for those folks that not only want to make money, but also want to make a difference, it's really been quite profound.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me more about that program. Like, how does that work?
What I did really years ago, I started using a concept called lease options.
Okay.
And of course, everybody's heard of that now, but back then they hadn't.
Right.
And what typically was true was that builders used it in the fall to get people into a home through the winter And then when it got to the spring, if those people didn't buy it, somebody else would.
Right.
And so they did just little short-term 6-month lease options. And I started doing it for a year, and I found out that a lot of people just couldn't get the job done in a year. They just couldn't get their credit improved enough.
Right.
So I changed it to 3 years. I give people an opportunity to buy the home within a 3-year period. We fix the price for 1 year, and then the price begins to appreciate after 1 year. But we give them a total of 3 years to be able to buy the house. But they do have an annual rental, meaning that they're going to have an annual increase in their rental payment until they exercise their option to buy. Mm-hmm. Then we have a step up in our path to home ownership where they can step up from rent to own to in-house financing. And that allows us to now become the bank for the people for the next 40 years. So we do offer 40-year financing to our clients. And then when they get good enough credit and good enough down payment, they can then get a brand new loan from the bank. So we have a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum level of our membership.
It's amazing.
Go into the membership and then step them up while they're living with us.
That's amazing.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. Well, again, you help somebody, give them a hand up. And there's an old saying from Zig Ziglar, who I was a huge fan of when I was a little baby sales guy. But he said, it's something that resonated with me. He said, if you help enough people get where they want to go, they will help you get where you want to go.
And that's an amen, Ed.
Right.
That is absolutely amen, because we are doing exactly that. And we have been blessed over and over and over again because of that. We have people now literally that have referred person after person after person to our program. So the internal referrals are just phenomenal because, everybody thinks, oh my God, it's a scam. I'm going to be scammed out of my money. And there are scams out there. So that's a valid concern. But we've definitely had success and multiple successes with the program. So then people tell their friends about it, and that attracts them to the program too.
So you've been a mentor and a coach to literally hundreds of thousands of people. And from an entrepreneurship perspective, what do you think separates the folks that are really successful in your program and the ones that may take a little longer to get going?
Ed, it's get with it and stick with it. That is the bottom line to the whole thing. People tend to see the shiny new thing and ricochet off to the new thing like a pinball machine.
Right.
And I really encourage people, if you want to build a business, not just buy and sell a house, anybody can do that. What I'm talking about is build a business that buys and sells houses and literally can have generational wealth. We now have people that have been with my program for years, and now they're bringing their friends and family and their children to our program. So we have multi-generations now that are doing my program. And the children now are building their own businesses with the guidance of their parents. And it has just been phenomenal. So they bring their kids to my training. I've had them as young as 12 in my training. And it's just been phenomenal to see the next generation come along and really take the mantle and be able to run with it.
Yeah. And focus is such a big issue, right? I mean, I even in my own business, at Clark Street, I suffer from what I like to call entrepreneurial ADD. It is profound, and every shiny object is, we're all looking around for the next thing. And the thing that I noticed in my own business when we really started to take off is when I stopped trying to be all things to all people. Amen. And did one thing really, really well. And you are preaching to the veritable choir here, sir.
Well, you've put your finger right on it, Ed. That is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs have, really, is the distractions of the next big thing. Right. I think there's a lot of people that invested in crypto that are now saying, maybe that wasn't such a good thing.
Like to have that back, right?
On where they got in, right? Yeah. But one of the great things about real estate is it's very forgiving. Right. Even if you buy the wrong property in the wrong neighborhood, over time, you generally are going to be able to right that ship if you can just, what I call survive. If you can survive long enough, you can definitely win at this game. So the get with it and stick with it concept, and also the right education. Right. Because I find that people think that by reading a book or watching a few videos on the internet that they think that they've got it, they've got it, grasped all of it, and they don't realize that there's a lot of curves. There's a learning curve in this.
Every single one.
You want to invest with safety.
Absolutely.
You want to think ahead to what are the risks, what are the things that can take me out of this game, and plan ahead.
Right.
And I definitely had that happen to me, having been in this business for over 40 years. One of the things back in my day, it was when the big crash occurred. I was heavy into renovations at the time. We were buying houses right. We were buying them cheap. We were buying them at auctions. We went in, we fixed them up beautifully. I'm talking about granite and columns and new front porches and dormers and all kinds of beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And we obviously were churning and burning, man. It was just fantastic. And we had people raising their hand and said, yeah, baby, count me in. I want that house.
Right.
And they signed contracts and we put them with the mortgage brokers. And then we didn't know, they didn't tell us, nobody sent us the memo that they cut off the lights. And they said, nope, we're not funding anybody right now. But they didn't say that, right? So it just kept extending and extending and extending closings. And we found out, they have shut the door on us. And we didn't even know. It was like musical chairs, they cut off music and you're the one left standing. So I had about a dozen houses at the time. And I said, you know what? In my whole career, when I look back, issues that I've had in this business has always been the selling. It wasn't the buying, it was the selling.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I am going to completely change my business model. I'm going to focus on the customer and I'm going to build a customer driven business. And that means I'm going to create the marketing necessary to attract the right customer. I'm going to bring those customers in. I'm going to vet them. I'm going to determine how much money they have to work with, proof of funds, the whole 9 yards, proof of income, determine exactly where they stand right now on the totem pole. And then we're going to go about finding a property for that person, depending upon how much down payment they have to work with and what they can afford on a monthly basis. So when I flipped the script and I started doing things completely differently, everything changed. And one of the biggest things that changed is the risk that we take. Right. Now, one of the things I've determined I'm going into, Ed, my 5th real estate cycle now. And it was hot and heavy right now, right? And definitely everybody's starting to see the tide turning.
Indeed.
And so what does that say to me? That says, yeah, baby, good times. This is all good. And the reason for that is simply that we've learned how to navigate bad times. We've learned that absolutely positively, these turns in the market are engineered. They are by design. And as long as you're aware of that, you can plan accordingly.
Right.
So what I did to flip the script was then go about, and I actually created a system around it called the house monster. And so our house monster concept is find the buyer before you buy and literally market the path to home ownership and market the whole possibilities of ownership to the public and bring them in, vet them carefully with scripts, with scripting, with websites, with the ability to capture their information on a digital form and really be able to dig down and have them in a database so that whenever I find the property in any given property, I can put that in my system and it'll find all the matches in the system and invite all of them to an open house and they can see exactly what's available and then they can bid accordingly against one of their on the down payment.
So smart. Everybody, it changes behavior when they know it's a competitive situation, right? And putting them all in the same building at the same time is genius. Not a surprise that you figured that out.
And instead of bidding off the price of the home, we have them bid the down payment.
Okay.
Now I've got my customer. I know they can't qualify at the traditional lender already. And so as a result, I've got somebody that's got true skin in the game. Now, another thing we do that was a game changer for me is I call them contractors, right?
Oh, yeah.
Con and tractor in their name. So you can get conned and run over by the tractor several times.
Fairly quickly. Yeah.
And anybody who's been in this business any length of time has had that experience.
Yep.
And so what I discovered was, why am I doing this? And I said, why don't I just give my customer the opportunity to do some or all of the repairs to the property in exchange for credit towards their down payment? And that has worked beautifully. And so as a result, we have been able to work things out with our new buyers coming in to take on some or all of the repairs. That has been a huge game changer in terms of keeping money in your pocket, money you don't have to raise to do the rehab.
Right.
Plus, you start getting paid on the property immediately rather than somewhere down the road, 3-6 months down the road.
Right.
And so those are a few things that we've done to navigate, let's just say, uneasy waters at times, but we've done it in good times too. All through this buildup, we were doing exactly that model.
Are you interested in real estate investing right here in Connecticut? Ever wonder where all those real estate investing pros hang out to network? Did you know the Connecticut Real Estate Investors Association will introduce you to those investors and will help you learn how to find deals, fund those deals, and even teach you how to do it without leaving your current job? Go to ctrea.com. That's ctreia.com and click on the events button to register for an upcoming event. Hope to see you soon. Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CTREA Funding comes in. CTREA Funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to ctreiafunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572. One of the things you said earlier really resonated with me, and that is, you're buying it well, right? And so we always talk about you make your money on when you buy, not when you sell. And the other thing that I'm a huge preacher of, so I'm a reformed flipper. I've now moved into the multifamily business, right? With every single property we ever bought, and we were buying 25, 30 of them a year at some points, we never paid more than we could to, if the market did turn, because 2008 taught me a valuable lesson as well. And so did 1987 and then 1992, if memory serves. The music stops and to use your analogy, the music stops, you got to make sure you have a chair, right? And exactly. So the way we were buying our properties was focused on, if '08 happens again, worst case scenario, there is an opportunity to turn around and finish the construction and immediately rent it, as opposed to having to sell it. Hold it until the economic cycle rights itself, and then explore whether or not we keep it or we sell it and 1031 exchange that money into something else. So
we can touch on another idea here too, that a lot of people now are excited about selling properties to hedge funds like flipping. And also they're excited about Airbnb and other models where they can increase their cash flows. And I'm all for that. Absolutely. I am the king of cash flow. I'm known as that. And definitely one of the things that we believe in, though, is exactly what you said. Let's have a backup plan. What is the backup plan? And for me, it's always the path to home ownership, because I'm going to get a big fat down payment from those people moving in. They're going to agree to do some or all of the repairs to the home, or none. We will do the rehab if they've got good enough down payment. And I'm going to know who I'm dealing with before I put them into the property.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Aunt Mabel and Realtor Sue. But who are some of the other mentors and folks that you've had in your life that gave you really good advice? And what was that advice?
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
Well, early days in my career, I was fortunate enough to discover someone named Jack Miller. And Jack Miller out of Tampa, Florida, he was a scientist. I call him a real estate scientist. And he came up with all kinds of great concepts. But the problem was he didn't give you any paperwork to do it with. And so I had to actually go about when I heard the concept, I had to go about digging down deep to put together the paperwork to do it.
Right.
That's really the foundation of all of my systems, is really the concept first. And then what is it going to take to implement this? Right. Always looking at what is, if we're taking a washcloth and wringing out all the water, what is the profit that can happen from this? And what's the maximum profit I can get from this with the minimum of headaches? So that's really the criteria I work on, is less deals, less work, more money. Right. So I'm not a big volume guy. What I'm about is really making the most money off of each one of those properties and giving people the opportunity to have a better life than the one they've got.
That's amazing. It's what I aspire to. And, the approach is very unique, right? Because your approach, mainly because, most people take that washcloth and try to wring the water out and as much as they can, and they forget about the human being on the other side of that transaction. And the fact that you are a customer oriented real estate investor is refreshing, and something that, you're leaving a legacy for your family. I'm sure they're already proud, but at some point your great grandkids are going to go, my great grandpa did this, and all these people live in beautiful homes now because of my great grandpa. Right.
Exactly right.
Pretty
and
cool.
One of the great things about what you just pointed out is really that we approach every deal as problem solvers. We're problem solvers for the seller, for the buyer, and for lenders out there, people that have IRAs, 401ks, personal funds sitting in checking accounts. How do they safely put their money to work using safe, secure real estate without putting the money at risk?
Right.
And so those are the approaches that we make when we're teaching people about the business model. Is really, you need to approach this as a housing counselor when you're talking with both sellers and buyers, because you really want to find out what their issues are and then bring the solution to the table. And one of the things that's been fascinating about this business model is to discover that it was meaningful to sellers. It was meaningful to lenders.
Right.
So initially I was approaching it that it was meaningful for the buyers. What I evolved into is discovering that the sellers were just as much on board with it, that their house that they're emotionally tied to is something that could go to serve someone else, and they could raise their kids there, and they could bury the dog in the backyard, and all the stuff that they lived, they now can pass that on to someone else just because they're working with people like us.
Right.
And I just love that approach. So I make a point of telling people, your home is not going to be sold to some hedge fund that's going to turn it into a rental. We have a different approach.
Right. Just that alone is setting you apart. Even if you're bidding on a property with another investor, that's setting you apart as, hey, we're actually going to change people's lives with this transaction. And most people will certainly gravitate towards that, and gives you an unfair advantage. So congrats.
It does. And the thing that is coming our way is when these foreclosures break loose and break free and they start doing them, there's going to be a lot more opportunity. There's going to be a lot more properties come available. Well, we now have a nationwide network of certified affordable housing providers all over the country, and all of them are offering the path to home ownership. So this is our branded trademark strategy in the marketplace. So as a result of that, we now become a distribution point for people with portfolios of properties that are spread out all over the country, and they want to get rid of them altogether instead of just hunting and pecking all over the country. We've got an opportunity that we can distribute them nationwide.
Power of community, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing, just like CT-RIA, right?
Yeah, exactly. On a somewhat smaller basis, but yes, absolutely. We aspire to 350,000 members, but someday, maybe. Someday.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, wouldn't it be? So I'm curious, one of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, I've read all but one of your books now, and I forgot to mention the 24-hour real estate money machine, which was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm a voracious reader, and I find that a lot of people in this business tend to they consume a lot of information to kind of sharpen the saw, so to speak. What kind of books do you read that inspire you? Or, if you take information in through podcasts or other formats, how do you continue to learn?
Oh, well, I do. I'm an avid reader of a whole variety of things. One of them is politics because that has an impact on us, and definitely following trends and seeing what they are up to
Right.
and causing to happen in the marketplace in advance and getting little hints here and there. Another is that being a business guy, I teach people how to build a business, not just how to buy and sell a house, but how to build a business that buys and sells houses. So one of the things I'm looking at is, what are the systems? How do systems work? What do you have to do to put something in place to cause things to happen? So like I've read Traction by Gino Wickman and actually adopted their whole program because that's something that we look at. How do we forward the action and put the right butts in the seats, so to speak, giving the people the right responsibilities to do what they're supposed to do and not get in their way, not micromanage them, but actually give them the tools and the training they need to be able to do it. Right. So I use that in my education as well. And so as I'm educating people, I'm telling them the tools, the training, the technology, and the team that's needed to cause a successful business. And that has worked out extremely well.
The training is the big piece, right? So I'm a big believer in EOS myself, and the whole idea of being very clear about objectives, the process, but also spending and investing that time on training people how to succeed in their roles is so important, right?
Well, you put your finger on something that we do. We have a training called Millionaire Jumpstart. And the first thing I do in that training is to help people get their head on straight in terms of what is it that you're up to? And everyone should go through this exercise to actually determine what is it that you want. First of all, ego. Let's get ego out of the way. Let's get your stuff dealt with. Let's make an honest list of stuff that you want for yourself and your family. Right. And let's Google that. Let's find out how much that costs. And then let's determine what the monthly is, the monthly expense of owning that. So it's not just the cost of buying it, but it's the cost of owning it as well. Property taxes, insurance, repairs, all of those things need to be taken into account. And that's one of the first exercises that I give people. In fact, before they even come to the event, I give them homework before they come. And that's part of it, to get their head on straight about what they're up to. Right. Because what I've discovered is that business is a formula. And once you understand the formula, all you need to do is plug your numbers into the formula, and boom, we've got a solution and can absolutely guide people through getting there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the first questions I ask every single one of our coaching students is, tell me about your goal. And, it would be, I want 1,000 units. Okay. Well, you haven't bought one yet. So let's back into this, right? How much is your monthly expenses? Okay. And if we're assuming you're going to make X dollars a month on each one of your units, it's math, right? So if you want to clear $4,000 a month and you need $200 per door, you need to own 20 doors before you kind of reach that point where you're covering your monthly expenses, right? It's simple.
Exactly right. You back into it. You don't make a bold statement like, I want this many units, because what does that mean anyway?
Nothing.
I mean, how much does it cost for that? And how much is the return on investment? And what did you pay for it? And what was the financing source? And what was the interest rate? And what are the terms? And all these things. So that needs to be, it's not number of units. It's what do you want out of this game first?
Right. Exactly. Because you will hit zero targets if you're not aiming for them. So you might as well at least pick one, right?
Amen.
Lou, as always, it's a pleasure to catch up with you. When you're not out there teaching the world how to make money in real estate, or you're not doing it for yourself and your family, what else do you like to do?
This is actually a hobby for me. So I love teaching, and it doesn't show up for me as work. Right. So I love what we do. I love changing people's lives, both entrepreneurs' lives as well as the end game. The people that are ending up with home ownership. So that really turns me on. I spend a lot of time doing that. And my wife and I spend time together every night in our sunroom, and we have jazz music and a glass of wine, and we have dinner, and we just, kind of enjoy talking about the day and our time together. We have a grandbaby now, and
congratulations.
Get to see her, and just things like that is where we spend a lot of our time now. Where we also like to spend our time is the beach and the mountains when we take our quarterly vacations. And that's something that I teach people as well, is to design yourself a life where you've got quarterly vacations.
Yeah, take a break, right?
Once you put it on the calendar, amazingly, the universe aligns to allow you to do it. So
isn't that amazing, right?
so it's a beautiful thing.
So I believe we have you coming back in the fall, but in the interim, if people, back to CTRIA, that is, if people want to learn more about how to get in touch with you and how to learn more about your books and your coaching programs and all the things that you do, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I've actually got a bonus for everybody today.
Fantastic.
We've got a book that the buy, hold, sell book is awesome. And yet I got a $5 off coupon for anybody who wants to go there. It's streetsmartwiz.com, W-I-Z, streetsmartwiz.com /BHS book. That stands for buy, hold, sell book. And anyone who wants a copy of my Doing Good While Doing Well book, they can get that at getdoinggoodbook.com, free download there. I've got a book on trusts. That's another whole subject that I teach people, how to hold title to property in trust, which is very strongly, ultimately recommended to everyone to hold title to their vehicles, their stocks, bonds, mutual funds, their bank account, and their real estate in trust. So I teach people about that, and I've got a free download on that. It's maximumassetshield.com /trust/bonus. I think it is.
Okay. Well, we'll put all these in the show notes as well, just to make sure. But Lou Brown, as always, a pleasure, sir. I can't wait to see you in person again. Until then, I wish you well, and thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, baby. Ed, thank you so much as well. And just a big shout out to all CTRIA. You guys are amazing. You have been amazing for decades, and it's just been a great relationship that we've had for a long time. So I appreciate that very much.
And we do as well. So thank you.
This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a CTRIA presentation. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover, post it in the comments. For more information on the Real Estate Underground Podcast or CTRIA, go to realestateundergroundpodcast.com or ctria.com. Until next time, happy investing.
This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.